And that is why black don't crack. Genius. Sheer genius. I was staring into La La Land. Leah, it's like, so here's the thing, right? Like, just, yeah, you added me on Twitter and stuff, and like, but it's not like I don't ever see interaction. I don't ever, like, I don't know. When I said that, what I meant was having you on another platform was so that I could like make sure you are who you say you are and stuff. And the Twitter doesn't really do that. And the only reason, and this has nothing to do with personally, and I really hope you understand this, but I have like literal women who make hundreds of fake accounts and are constantly trying to get into my inner circle, so that they can gain more information, so they can like try to like, make my life difficult. So I am hesitant to mod someone that I just really don't know. And I don't have you on any other platforms, so I can't like, watch. Oops, my dog. I can't like, just observe you in your natural habitat or anything, Orly, come inside. Come on. You want a treat? Come on. Come on. There he is. There's a good boy. There you go. He's a good boy. Why are you so sketched out? What's going on? So yeah, so I really hope you understand, but I'm just like a little bit apprehensive, because I don't know who you are. And but if you have any other like social media that you can follow me on and like interact with, like so I can find you like on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or anything, so that I could just see you, in your natural state. I'm honest to God, like I don't really need any new mods. I don't have like a crazy, like right now it's a little bit of a fluke that there's so many people in here, but like I don't really need any mods. I don't have any issues. And like I don't have any issues in my chat or anything on a day-to-day basis. And it doesn't really, you can't do anything other than just like remove people. And like that's why I have to be super careful, because if, like, not saying you are, but if you were, say, my stalker woman pretending to be someone nice so that I would mod you, then you could block like a lot people, just like start blocking every single person that follows me and or engages in my content, and I could miss that, you know what I mean? Like I don't know, I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid. What? What? You want more treats? Is that what you want? More treats? Is that a smile? Okay, let's get you more treats. Back up, more. More. There you go. All done. Mom's got to get to work. Oh, I got to go to the car and get my, I've decided that I'm going to carve the piano rug that I made for Nikki. My videos. Okay. Does that bus engine work? Yes, it does. Man, my face is super red. I don't like hot water. It's just really hot in here too, I think. Okay, let's run to... Damn, dude, that fucking yarn fiber is everywhere in here. It's like coating everything. Alright, watch out, dog. I gotta go to the car. Get up on your bed. Can you get up out of the way? I need to go. Excuse me. Ciao. Thank you. Alright, I'll be right back. He's a puppy dog in a puppy dog. He's a good boy. He gets good boy treats. He's a good boy, and he's a good boy. He's a puppy. Puppy, puppy doogie. Come on, puppy, let's go party. Woof, 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 woof. Come on, puppy, let's go party. Whoa, whoa. I got my yarn that they promised me that they were going to send me, and it wasn't supposed to be here till the 27th. I don't know what day of the month it is, so it might be the 27th, but here it is. Brick red and bright yellow. So exciting. Hello in New York City. Thank you, Gentle Soul, for the star. Thanks, love. Thank you, Leah. What is this? Well, you can see Mr. Bojangles. This lady is the worst. Okay. It says, oof, I know why. I'm sorry. You have a very unfortunate appearance, Gabby. Do shit, I am. I got my yarn. I got my yarn. Where's my tablet? Did you guys see the rug? I made this. It's backwards because it's a forward facing camera. And then I just finished this one last night. Romeo and Juliet. Pretty freaking cute. Tonight, as soon as I'm done doing this yarn, I'm going to carve this up. Yeah, unfortunate appearance. I'm trying to be nice, you know? But, you know, it's like when you see a baby who has an unfortunate appearance, you would never go to their baby and go, "Oh my God, wow, what an ugly baby you have." No, you would be like, "Oh, that baby has the cutest toes ever. Oh, look at those cute little toes." That way, you found something cute, you've pointed it out, everybody's happy, and you did not have to lie. Because I don't lie. And I'm not going to, I will, you know, I'm not going to lie. It's not nice to lie. It's disrespectful. If you lie, you're not giving someone, you're not providing someone with the autonomy that they deserve. How's someone going to make the choice for them, whether or not they like you, whether or not they want to do the thing you want to do? If you lie to them, they're not working with all the facts. So, like, I just don't think it's right. You tell the truth all the time, even when it's painful. Ugh, there we go. We're supposed to get to, I guess that works. We should get to an easier spot. So. Yeah, I don't fucking think so. How about we not? Thank you. The yarn likes to tangle up in itself. Dude, they really fucking hid the center pull from me today. Lord Jesus. Tangled to the last fucking drop. See if I can get this yarn ball before the flashlight scooches over and falls off the edge of the table. I'm not gonna make it. It's gonna fall off before I get to it. You're just bound and determined to tangle up, ain't ya? It's a pretty color. I like the brick red. It's more like a terracotta slash brick more than just a straight brick. It's like a creamy red. the same color as the shirt I have on. Ooh, wee, cold breeze. Dude, my black friends are literal geniuses. I don't know what took me so long, probably because I was a teenager in the 90s and oil was bad, and only through personal experience have I come to realize that actually your face like literally desperately needs moisture, and if you strip the oils away from your face, you're going to give yourself twice as much acne. So anyway, I finally cracked, and because I've been using lotion on my face for about 3 or 4 months, and I have not had acne. Instead, my face feels better. So I was like, all right, I'm getting Vaseline. So I got Vaseline, and I literally coated my entire body in Vaseline. And holy shit, it absorbs into your skin. I thought it just sat on top of your skin, so everything you touched was greasy. But no, it absorbs in there, and it makes it hold all the moisture in. Get out of here with that shit. How did I go so long? Fucking genius. Genius. I'm gonna like do it every time now. I'm gonna slather myself in Vaseline after I take a shower. And it's cheaper than all those fucking fancy lotions. Like the CeraVe Super Hydrating. And then I also put a bunch of it on my feet and then put my feet immediately in my socks. So my feet are all gonna be soft and hydrated and shit. Genius. Don't know why I didn't try it before. I was terrified to clog my pores. But your face can actually handle more than you think. Plus, if you put oil on your face, like begets like. So if you're trying to get a waxy oily pimple out of your face. Your clogged pore is clogged with wax like a blackhead. You know what's gonna break that wax down? Oil. I've been using the oil cleansing method off and on for the last like 10 or so years. And I hadn't been brave enough still to try Vaseline. I've used very light oil, like apricot oil or coconut oil or something that I knew would fully absorb into the skin. But if you use like a less absorbent oil, it's easier for the oil to stay on the surface of your skin, break down the wax of the comedone, and then you can like remove the dirt and stuff from your skin, and it's not going to absorb as much. So benefits and negatives. See, they just left it right here for me in this one. She wakes up in denial, so that it's straight. I'm not a hoarder, I just do hobbies. I actually do not do coke. I have heart problems. If I did coke, I would die. Yes, I do get mad, actually. And yes, I do mean autonomy. I mean free will, the ability to do whatever they so choose. The freedom of choice. You take away someone's freedom of choice if you lie to them, because if you don't give someone all of the information, they're making decisions based on partial information. That means they're not able to make the best choice for themselves. Like if you're cheating on your partner or you're not happy in your relationship and you go on living like that, you're lying to your partner. They could be making better choices for themselves if you were handing them all of the information. You know, so that's what I mean. Autonomy, totally. Free will. You take away someone's free will when you lie to them. They're no longer making their choice with all the facts. You are a big fat boy. Ow. Just forgot my head is taller. Just about broke my neck on the ceiling. Oh, what a feeling when dancing on the ceiling. Oh, what a feeling. Go on, make it lit. The world needs wannabe, so hey, do that brand new thing. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me, baby. And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of channels, and it started this week. And I know clavicular got banned, but like, you can't be serious. Have some self-awareness. Or channels that even maybe appear to use AI.
Actually, this is clean. I'm working. This is active. I'm actively working here.
Your shorts that you react to.
So.
Your
And everything that you see right here in the way and shit, that all gets moved like 5 times a day, because if I don't move it, I can't move.
Put your own shitty logo on it. Or their outros or something like that. I can't. Jelly Boy King Rage Quit, thank you. Your YouTube channels are under attack by me. Whoa, buddy. Yeah.
What's on, everyone? Jeremy here from the quartering, and
there is yarn all over the floor from all like this trimming that I'm about to do, but I don't want to clean it up yet because I want to clean it up. I want to go bring my big vacuum in here, and I do not want to do that more than once. It was a big vacuum. It's a pain in the ass.
Shorts and reacting to AI shorts by putting 5 seconds saying, watch this, what did the oranges do? And then like you'll play whatever AI slop and you'll play its entirety. You cannot be serious.
For white women and must be brought to its knees.
I just saw his hat. Guys, his cap says lone wolf. He actually meant, guys, he
out. Check it out. What do you think about this? Check it out.
Do you know?
Check this out. I'm on this dog's side. Check it out. Yikes. Check this out. Here we go again. Check this out. Yikes, 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 yikes. That's the problem with America.
Yikes. Jeremy's Indian. Yikes. And before we get into
yarn
Jeremy's
fibers
segment,
all over.
This doesn't have to do with his features. These are just interesting features that I picked up on when learning about this. So, if you guys want to know if somebody is a beginner...
Thank God the Vaseline actually absorbs into my skin, so I don't have to, like, have that goop on my surface of my skin sticking all this fiber sticking to me.
I did a stream going through the channel Prosper Insights, who I'm getting all of this information from, and following his courses on Patreon. I'm not sponsored. I genuinely just wanted to learn more about physiognomy and see if I could use it. You know, I learned it over the course of 2 days, so I'm basically an expert now. I want to see if it was true, like if it was possible under these personalities. Now, with that said, double chin, look at the forehead, look at the tired eyes. It's a perfect match. And what he said about the phlegmatic Jupiterian face is that they are low energy, need a lot of sleep, they eat a lot, and what what they eat is usually grains, whole bread, brown rice. So, and he said they are the judge. They believe in like their morality, social reform, and enforcing justice. That's why he's kind of like, he's gone woke now. It actually makes sense. So that's what I mean. These things manifest really weirdly, and a lot of them will be
That is
legal
a weird
service,
fucking
or
knot.
they'll be priest justice order. So that's why he thinks he's like and that his judgment is better than yours. His judgment rules, and he's going to encourage the platform of people and then take no accountability for it. So he's judgmental, but his judgment's fucked up, right? But in his head, he thinks he has good judgment. Clearly, is terrible judgment. So they also say that Prospero Heights said that it means jovial as well, Jupiterian, and that Jupiter is the biggest planet, which I know from astrology. And what I know from astrology here, I'm combining my info here, is that Jupiter
Fucking
is
fibers.
So in astrology, if you look at the shape in general, when we're looking at him, even though he's really tired sometimes, like here, when we're looking at him, we are seeing roundness, right? We're seeing big round eyes. Prospero Heights says it means you're more open to the world and you kind of just accept things as they are. So obviously in face reading, you can have two conflicting things, which means that they may manifest differently or maybe they balance each other out. The shape of his lower eye area is round, so that would be how he's perceiving the world, and it's through morals and emotions. So he's very emotional, and I actually see that as a repeated theme in his physiognomy. I think he is a very emotional guy. I think that's accurate. We can see that on Twitter when he is deleting his tweets. So as far as the depth goes, I think his eyes are kind of bulgy. So, yeah, I understand he looked different in high school, guys, but physiognomy is based on how they currently look. He is emotional, and I think that's why he has such brown eyes. I think the depth of his eyes, because they're bulging, he blurts things out, and he's more socially involved, lone wolf hat. But clearly he needs the social validation, as we can see. And he also said, Prospera Insights said,
I don't think it's a good idea that you go in there. Good girl. Yeah, if you go inside the wood stove, then you're gonna have ash footprints all over my house. The door's open so that if there's a mouse in here, it won't go in there. I love you. I love you. My sweet girl. I love you. Alright. Yay. put on some kind of leggings so I don't get that fiber all over my legs.
Praise the Lord.
The most self-controlled cat. Oh yeah, watching the fucking string and stuff, right? Like, cause I tell her when she starts to do it, I say, "You don't listen to your intrusive thoughts. Don't listen to your intrusive thoughts." She's a good girl. She's an amazing fucking cat. Like the absolute best ever. I can't imagine any other cat in my life. Alright. So I have an idea I want to think with this. I feel like I want to carve it and make the keys stand out like 3D more. So we're going to do that. Dude, this cat, like for real, dude, did you kill a mouse or something? Or is that just your cat food that stinks? Because I can't quite tell if it's cat food or if there's something dead. That's how you know you're getting the good stuff. Don't step on my computer. Don't step on the computer. Mm-mm. You can't step on it, bro. Why do you want to step on it? Alright, I'll switch to the other one. And then you can step on it. There you go, now you can step on it. God, sure wish there was something
Up, everybody, welcome back into
good
episode.
on. Why does this taste so burnt? It's cheap. Maybe the temperature's too high. Perfect. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Could you be mine?
It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood. A neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Would you be mine?
Oops.
I have always wanted to have a neighbor
Just
just
like
you.
you. And
I've
always wanted to live in the neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day.
Since we're together,
Might as well say, Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you please?
Won't you please?
Please won't you be my neighbor?
I'm Michael Keaton. When I started out in show business,
Hi,
my first job
I'm
was
so and so, and I want to sell you something.
public television station in Pittsburgh, often on the set of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Who can forget Fred coming through the front door,
Okay.
putting on a cardigan sweater,
Time to take the hair down.
feeding the
I'm so
fish,
fucking.
or showing
Should be
films
dry by now.
on Picture Picture. Sometimes I was the young kid who flipped the switch to start
at
the
least
little
dry
red
enough.
trolley that took you in and out of the neighborhood of make-believe. That's where you saw a colorful
Mommy, I
world
need my
filled
spot.
with puppets, Daniel Striped Tiger, King Friday, Henrietta Pussycat, X the Owl, and so many
here.
others. The first national program in
Come
1968
here.
featured a small cast, simple sets, and live music. And over the years, nothing really changed.
I'm sorry.
Especially Fred
I'm sorry.
Rogers.
I know.
Hi, neighbor.
You can lay on
We could make
Elliot's.
believe that Tony Bennett comes to Lady Elaine's museum go
brush?
round television studio. Let's make believe about that now, right?
It's you I love. It's not the thing.
Is this just like a bunch of different Mr. Rogers stuff, or is this a documentary? Because I don't want to
Do your hair.
just watch a bunch of Mr. Rogers.
I like.
I'm gonna get fucking what you call it copywritten stricken.
For a ton of acting awards and producing awards for Moneyball. And of course, this movie also starred Jonah
I
Hill,
fucking
who I also did a
headband
video
all day.
about recently. And in that video, I
Smushed my
talked
hair
about how
back.
a friend of a friend worked
My
on
poor scalp
Moneyball,
hurts so
and
much.
my friend's friend.
No, I don't
said
wash my
that
hair in a
Jonah
5-gallon
Hill
bucket.
Was an
I wash my
absolute
hair in a
twat
shower,
on the
in a
set of
bathtub.
Moneyball, and that
Money, Mama,
he
I need my
even
spot, honey.
encouraged Brad Pitt
I
to
love
be
you.
even more
Oh,
of
I
a
need to
twat,
get
and
down
that it
here.
absolutely was not an enjoyable set to work on, especially for the crew. The most persistent of stories about Brad Pitt's behavior behind the scenes are about his rudeness, his difficultness, his drinking, and his just all-around kind of diva behavior. But we will touch on this throughout the whole video because it is a thread that carries throughout his entire 4-decade career. Another really persistent story about Pitt is his terrible hygiene, and some people speculate that it's a weird power move of like what I can do and what I can get away with, and people won't say
I love you
anything
so
because
freaking
he's
much.
Obviously, Brad Pitt and a massive A-list star
Okay, I
that
gotta give
brings
her
in
attention. She's not gonna
billions
let
of
me do nothing.
dollars.
Come here.
There's even times he's spoken about not showering and things in interviews, and the stories other people tell is he just constantly would smell like stale cigarettes and marijuana smoke, and that kind of smell of alcohol that comes out of someone after they've drank a lot the day before. And also just again stories about
Come here.
him not showering and like his hair and things, and these stories became so widespread
can't
and
lay
talked
on
about on the internet that they even began seeping into the mainstream media. And so when that started to happen, Brad Pitt's insanely slick, effective, and expensive PR team have been trying to change the narrative on that. And you'll see a lot of stories in the past year and a bit that are all titled things like Brad Pitt's new girlfriend has changed his stinky ways or something like that, because Brad Pitt's new girlfriend, who is actually the, I think, ex-girlfriend, I'm pretty sure ex-wife of Paul Wesley from The Vampire Diaries, who I've also done a video about, and his PR team are doing everything they possibly can to launder his reputation through this new relationship and using it as kind of a tool to do things like that, like, oh, this new relationship has changed all these things about him, and all those stories, they're not true anymore because he has this new relationship. Look at this new relationship, don't look at all that other stuff. So we're getting into that, of course, as well, because it starts, well, it is in present day too. So there's a lot of manipulation with Brad Pitt's PR and the stories and things that are put out.
Try to spread
and
my hair out
why
so it
stories
dries
like
evenly. Ooh, I
Brad
should turn my
Pitt's new girlfriend
dehumidifier
has
on.
changed his stinky ways. Why there's 30 stories about that on like a random Tuesday.
Oh
There's
yeah,
a
I'm doing
million
really well, Kevin.
reasons for
Way
kind of
better.
all the things
And my
that end
hobbies
up
are
coming out
like
about
alive.
Brad Pitt.
What
Like,
a good
it's
girl.
all very, very strategic. So just to go back to the early 2000s for a minute, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt have got married in 2000. They're unbelievably famous, unbelievably successful, and through the early 2000s, Jennifer Aniston, who is on the most popular show, is just huge on television. She starts doing more like mainstream movies, and she was doing movies like all throughout Friends, but it was more stuff like Picture Perfect and The Object of My Affection, which I love both those movies and had them on VHS and watched them constantly. But the early 2000s, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt crossed this kind of golden velvet rope of A+ list to the permanent and forever A++ list, which is insanely difficult to obtain. And they both do it individually and as a couple. I mean, people even still today reference, oh, Brad and Jen, which it's just so rare. And for them both to be equally famous and the couple to be so well known, I mean, there's not a lot of celebrity couples like that, especially today. This time period, like, I have such clear memories of the stories coming out and things, because it wasn't like now where, oh, I can read 20 different stories on this the second that it comes out. You know, it was magazines and internet message boards and newspapers and things like that. And so you really got these little pieces all the time. And the reason I say that is because of, and why it's important, is because in the mid 2000s, in 2004 specifically, Brad Pitt had 3 movies that were being made, and the behind the scenes of these movies became such a big part of his divorce with Jennifer Aniston and his relationship with Angelina Jolie. Brad Pitt, the few years leading up to 2004, he had done movies like Snatch, and of course in 2001 he did the first Ocean's movie, Ocean's 11, with his friend and co-star George Clooney, which that's a future video for sure. I didn't move to Tampa until 2003, but my dad was already working there in 2001, and they actually filmed a couple of scenes from Ocean's 11 in Tampa at the place where my dad wasn't working there yet, but he had like a business relationship with people there, and he had like an office. And so they filmed scenes for Ocean's 11 at Darby Lane, is like the real place. It was a dog track, but it's not a dog track now. And it's shown in the movie as a dog track at the beginning, where they're like going to get the character Saul, and he's there like watching a dog race. And so they filmed a lot of that in Tampa, and I remember like grilling my dad, like asking him all the questions about like George Clooney and Brad Pitt and stuff like that. And that movie obviously was huge, and they went on to do all of the sequels. Right now, Ocean's 14 is in pre-production, and they did in 2004, they did Ocean's 12. So in 2004, Brad Pitt has Troy, Ocean's 12, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And all of these movies had just a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Ocean's 12 with George Clooney and Brad Pitt, there's obviously a lot of debauchery, let's say. And then the Troy movie, as I mentioned, was just like plagued with issues and difficulties. And then Brad Pitt and Orlando Bloom and Christian Bale, like, those people also do not have the greatest of reputations and are not great to deal with. And it wasn't an ideal shooting situation either, because even just like the heat and where they were doing and the sets and everything, it just was very difficult filming. And so Brad Pitt has fun shooting Ocean's 12, And originally, for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it was supposed to be Brad Pitt and Nicole Kidman. And Brad Pitt actually pulled out of Mr. and Mrs. Smith because of everything else that was going on with Troy and Ocean's 12. And he also said that he just didn't feel the chemistry with Nicole Kidman. But then she dropped out of the project. And when Brad Pitt heard that Angelina Jolie was taking the part, then he was back on. And so they filmed it in a bit of a, not a strange way, but they had to kind of fit around the schedules of a lot of things because someone dropped out, someone else dropped out, recasting everything. And when they were in the middle of filming, Brad Pitt would like go to the premiere of Troy. And so when all of this stuff is happening behind the scenes, Brad Pitt and Angelina, there's rumors coming out that they're actually in a relationship, that Brad and Jen are done. And so there would be all of these like paparazzi shots that would come out that would be Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie at a restaurant or like holding hands on the street. And then the next day there would be publications being like, oh, actually, that was a scene that they were filming. There was no cameras or crew, but they were filming a scene. Trust us, they were filming a scene. And of course, people were like, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem right. But that was the narrative for a long time. So up until this point, of course, massive A-listers, they have the whole marketing PR machine going. But also at this time when Brad Pitt and Angelina are getting together and Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston are splitting up, a Hollywood golden couple, and Jennifer Aniston has always had this girl next door, like very positive relationship with the media and with the general public. So of course people are not going to be impressed with them breaking up and then Angelina coming in, and it was going to turn into a big mess regardless. And so even though they had this PR machine behind them, at this time in the mid 2000s, you just see it go to a totally other level. And also because you were getting the introduction, not really the introduction, but the internet and social media and all of these things are also moving to other levels. And so celebrities and how they put themselves out there, what stories, their relationship with the public, their relationship with the media, it's all changing at this time too. And also paparazzi culture and how they are is changing as well. And whereas it wasn't as frequent to call the paparazzi and things like that, that is really starting to go into overdrive at this time as well. So there's all these things happening. And Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, there's a lot of attention on them over these paparazzi shots and these rumors and people talking about things. And so in January 2005, this is like after Mr. and Mrs. Smith, after it's come out and everything, there's been rumors for months and months at this stage that Brad and Jen are done and that he's with Angelina. And so Brad and Jen go on vacation in January to Mexico with Courtney Cox and David Arquette. There are paparazzi that just happen upon them in Mexico and take pictures of them on the beach with Jennifer and Brad like walking arms around each other, and Brad Pitt has a shirt on that says trash. And then there's paparazzi pictures taken pretty much of apparently Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston telling Courtney Cox and David Arquette that they're going to divorce. And of course, at the time, most people are like, oh, the paparazzi, got them on vacation and things. And now that we know a lot more, it's like, of course, this was staged, allegedly, in my opinion. So this is January 2005. They are on this vacation. Pretty much a few days after the vacation, they announce that they're splitting up. 2 months later, in March 2005, Jennifer Aniston files for divorce from Brad Pitt. And almost immediately, there's pictures of Brad and Angelina together, and from really that point, they didn't confirm it for ages or anything like that, but before the divorce was finalized in October 2005, Brad and Angelina had done this big, massive photo shoot. Like, there's so many pictures in this shoot. It's not like a usual shoot where they're shooting for a magazine and there's like 4 or 5 of the best pictures. Like, I think there's over like 25 pictures in this shoot for W magazine where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, they're styled like 50s couple, and it's supposed to be like this domestic bliss photo shoot. And then there's photos of them in bed together, there's photos of them with all these identical little perfectly dressed children. A lot of it turns out to be a bit prophetic, and that photo shoot obviously was a massive thing, and then it comes out that they are in a relationship. And at this time too, Jennifer Aniston is doing like a lot of interviews with like Vanity Fair and lots of other publications that she's not directly addressing it, but she's kind of talking around it. For the next year especially, but really for years, there was this whole Angelina stole Brad Pitt and Brad Pitt wanted kids and Jennifer Aniston didn't, and then there would be constant photo shoots and magazine covers that would be like, Jennifer Aniston's pregnant and all of this stuff. And I do think like the media probably tortured her over that stuff, but there also is no, in my opinion, denying that even these A-list stars who Brad Pitt famously doesn't have social media, Jennifer Aniston not too long ago joined Instagram and became like, her picture with like the Friends cast became like one of the, I think it was the fastest growing account to 1 million followers. But they might not be using social media in the way that celebrities now do, or even influencers or like really big YouTubers, but they absolutely play this whole game with the media. And just because they're A-listers, they are not above calling the paparazzi on themselves, again, allegedly in my opinion, because it's just undeniable. Like, it really is. Not even like things like, how did paparazzi randomly find them in Mexico, and like security at the resort. Like, it's really, when you look at things, I mean, we just didn't know as much as we do now back then. I think just people believe this stuff a lot more back then. I know even I did, because you didn't have access to things the same way you do now, and there is just so much more that is available. And I just think that the way that we really did buy a lot of the stuff that was put out in the early and mid 2000s, that I still think that a lot of people that like maybe they only read Us Weekly and People and stuff like that, and like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but people that don't follow stuff as much as, if you're watching this channel, I'm gonna say we do, because that's gonna probably be very likely. So I think those people that don't follow this stuff as closely as we do don't maybe realize how orchestrated all of this stuff is, and what an insane machine PR in Hollywood is in general, but especially for these massive A-listers. And that's not to knock anyone or say that they should or anything like that. You know, a lot of my family and friends, I'll tell them things all the time and they're absolutely shocked, because it's just not their hyperfixation, or they aren't interested in this celebrity or that, or TV, or they like reality more, or, you know, influencers or whatever. Of course, a lot of people are going to think that
It's gonna look
this
way
stuff
better
is
now
all
with the 3D.
totally accurate in the way it is, because that's what all of the PR people and managers and agents and everybody, this machine, that's what they're being paid millions of dollars to do. And the reason they're being paid those millions of dollars is because it's very effective. I've only seen a very small handful of articles that in any way over recent recent years have criticized Brad Pitt, especially in the past year where it's been like the Formula One movie and like all these other big things, and he's starting to do little things here and there again, like on the media front. And there is all the discussion
My dog is
about
snoring
his
so
kids
hard right now.
dropping his last name and not having any relationship with him. So they're trying to like drown that stuff out. One of the only articles that I saw in any sort of like bigger publication, like not even a mainstream one, was Vulture, where a writer called Angelica Jade Bastine, she did a piece called Brad Pitt is Fooling You, and it came out after the Armchair Expert interview, whatever you want to call that. And you can totally see how the relationship is being fed both ways by the celebrity and their team that want to only go on shows like Armchair Expert and these other ones that they're not going to be pushed, they're not going to be asked questions, they're not going to be in any way, like they're going to ask these 10 approved questions, they're going to cut out whatever the team asks them to cut out, and they're going to promote whatever it is that they tell them they want to promote. Because to Armchair Expert or any of the other like big celebrity ones or big celebrity interview ones, they are given the small amount of access to the celebrities. And so people, if they want to see celebrity A interviewed about a project, they really only have like 1, 2, maybe 3 places with these not great interviewers. And so people watch, and I see how like it goes that way too. Like it's beneficial to the celebrity who's being interviewed, but it's beneficial to these podcasts too, because why would they push back? Why would they ask follow-ups? Why would they press them? Because they're getting access to big celebrities, they're getting the millions of views, they're getting the money, all these things. I mean, my answer would be because you should be trying to do a good job, you should be trying to create a good piece of content because of your audience, because of all of these things. But I've said in a few videos, like I've been on YouTube 6 years, I've never done any sort of sponsorship, but because of copyright, because of the way that everything is being demonetized, and I talk about stuff that's not monetization great. So I've been talking to different people about what I can do, and because if I did do any sort of sponsorship, it would be very specific, and I've been speaking to people that they are willing to let me say no to a lot of stuff, and to be very like, I'm only doing this because there was other people that I spoke to that were like, oh, your videos are so long, you could do like 6 sponsorships in one video. And I was like, are you insane? Like, there's no way I would do that. And there's no way I'd work with this or that or say this or want that. And so I totally see, like, I'm a small fish, you know, like I'm little, but these people, they're being offered like insane money. And again, as I've said many times, there's no amount of money that would have me cross certain lines. Like, if you ever see me doing a gambling sponsorship, they've either paid me $1 million and I'm not gonna make another video, or I have been captured as a hostage and I'm trying to send you a message. So those are the only 2 scenarios. But I just think that people, it just works both ways, and that's why now the celebrity interview is dead, because the people who are good just don't really get the access. And I don't know what can be done to like rectify this, because the people that do the terrible celebrity interviews still get the views because there is no other interview of this person. So anyway, I've talked about this enough, but it just enrages me, because I just hate watching like garbage that you, it's all so fake. And someone like Brad Pitt just can sit for 2.5 hours on Armchair Expert, and all these other people, like constantly in videos I'm saying this person was on this podcast and they weren't asked about this or weren't asked about that, and it's just infuriating. But Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie were together from before Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt divorced from Mr. and Mrs. Smith filming in 2004. And so very quickly they started building their family together. Angelina Jolie had already adopted Maddox before Brad Pitt and she were like official. So over the course of their relationship, they didn't actually get married until almost 10 years into their relationship. And they were always saying like they didn't want to get married until gay marriage was legal. And then they weren't really that bothered about it, but the kids wanted them to get married. And so they got married at their winery Chateau Vineyard in France, which we'll get into in a little bit. So over their relationship, they ended up having 6 kids, Maddox, as I mentioned. Then Angelina adopted a daughter, Zahara, that Brad Pitt then adopted a year after Angelina had. And the next oldest son that they have is Pax, that they adopted from Vietnam. But they actually had a daughter, Shiloh, first, as they adopted Pax when he was about 3. And then they had the 4 kids, and then they had a set of twins, which are the youngest, called Vivian and Knox, a boy and a girl. So they have 6 kids all together, and most of the kids are over 18 now. I think the twins are around 16. And so they all had Jolie Pitt as their last name. And for a long time, there was really like you would only see these like spurts of the kids, like when Shiloh and the twins were born, they did like a big photo shoot to like release the pictures and stuff. And Shiloh's pictures ended up selling for something like 10 million, and the twins, I think it was 14 million. And they did donate both of those amounts of money. And you do see both of them do enormous amounts of charity and donate a ton of money. And there are certain nice lines and things that have come out about Brad Pitt spending money, and if he's in a hotel with like a couple that's honeymooning, he's like paid for their suite or something. And they again have put a lot of money into charity. But there's so many people that I've talked about on the channel that yes may do a lot of charity, but that doesn't erase what they're doing in their rest of their life. One other thing I want to mention, because I don't see it covered really anywhere either, is Brad Pitt's involvement with the homes that were being built for Katrina victims. And this isn't something that was charity or done for the goodness of his heart. Like, this is investment and all of that stuff, profit. This of course involved the victims of Hurricane Katrina that hit New Orleans in 2005. And Brad Pitt was someone, and there's other investors in this, that homes were built for Katrina victims, and they ended up very, very quickly being completely uninhabitable. They were absolute disasters. Katrina victims were victimized all over again, and they were just built very cheaply, it seems, to profit a lot. And I really would love to do a video on this type of thing, where there are celebrities that are using government grants, or there's a lot of this with COVID money, where celebrities are getting massive amounts of money either from the government or raising a lot of money, and then they're throwing birthday parties for themselves with millions of dollars that they were given of our tax money, Chris Brown. Or a situation like the Brad Pitt one, where they are not only profiting massively and taking money from taxpayers and all of that, but they are also hurting regular people. So to now move into the darker stuff about Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, they were able to keep a lot of this stuff out of the headlines and just very well hidden for a long time. There were always bits and pieces about Brad Pitt, and it was generally known in the industry how he was. But throughout definitely the last couple of years of their marriage, there were a lot of rumors about his behavior on set, his alcohol problem, and how he was treating people like a lot of anger and explosions, and just very difficult to deal with on set, because he allegedly would be intoxicated.
Forgot
and
about
just
you.
Would be very, very difficult and aggressive and rude towards people. But of course, all of that is not something that you're going to find in the mainstream media. And there was all of these sort of fluff pieces about him being this great dad and all of that sort of thing. And one thing to mention also that I think is very important is Angelina Jolie famously does not have PR. And I think that you will see that throughout the rest of what we're going to talk about, because one thing about the last 10 years, especially when they've been going through their divorce and everything, is that you really don't see a lot of stories about her in the same way that you see them about Brad Pitt. Like, I'm talking about all of these fluff pieces and all of these PR stuff that gets put out, and that's how you see how much is produced about him purposely by the PR to try and drown out like a lot of these negative stories. Of course, some of it is promotion and all of that as well, but I think it's much more trying to keep this illusion alive of him being this perfect, charismatic, like heartthrob that is this great dad. And now there's this kind of narrative of like Angelina Jolie is this woman that stole Brad Pitt and then turned his children against him. And I just think that it's
Oh my
very
god, you know what I could be
telling
doing
that
right now?
Angelina
Wearing my
Jolie
fucking readers.
seems to
I'm working
be
on something
focusing
dark ass
on
colors. It's hard to
her
see in this.
kids. and
Oh, the
not
light's not even turned
seeing
towards
Pitt
me!
in the press. And again, I'm not saying there's not criticism for Angelina Jolie, and I know the whole thing with their winery, chateau, vineyard, whatever descriptor you want to use, that there's been petty things going on there, and that's been dragged out forever. But I just don't think that that is an apt comparison to
My
what
god,
we're
this is
going
gonna be so much
read
better.
now, which was the inciting incident for their divorce, allegedly, because Angelina Jolie filed for divorce 5 days after there was this incident on a plane
Closer, because I can't
Angelina Jolie,
read.
Brad Pitt, and all of the kids. And a very key thing that I think is not talked about in this is that this incident on the plane, this was reported and like told by the flight crew on this private jet.
Okay,
And
now I can see the
I
screen.
cannot imagine what
Thanks,
had to
FTG.
happen for
So,
a
can you
flight
see the
crew, a
difference
private flight
with...
crew
Oh,
flying two
I've only
A-list
done this one.
celebrities, what
But you
they
see the difference, like right
thought
here, how
to
it's
call that
rounded,
in, because to call
and how
authorities.
these
I
just
mean,
look
private
like
jet, like, one of the
crayon
main
coloring,
things is discretion
and this has
all
more
of that.
definition.
And I
When I
just
do,
don't think that that's
once I get
something
these
that they'll
couple
like
ones done, you'll be able to see it
immediately
better.
jump to.
I'll do those now so you
I
can see.
want to read
Watch
this
out, money.
exactly, and I never really will read like whole big chunks of things. It's not like super long.
Watch out,
but
watch
I
out,
want to
watch out.
say exactly so that nothing's misconstrued.
No, no,
and
no, no,
I'm
no,
giving
no,
the
no,
full
no,
thing.
no, watch
So
out.
what I'm reading
God,
is
you're such
part
a
of the cross complaint
Money.
of Angelina Jolie against Brad Pitt. So on September 14th, 2016, Jolie's marriage came to an end. On that day, Jolie, Pitt, and their children were flying to Los Angeles from Chateau Miraval. That's their like vineyard winery thing. Throughout the long overnight flight, Pitt was physically and emotionally abusive to Jolie and their children, who were between the ages of 8 and 15. After that flight, for her family's well-being, Jolie decided to file for divorce. As documented in the lengthy and detailed FBI report, Pitt's aggressive behavior started even before the family got to the airport, with Pitt having a confrontation with one of the children. After the flight took off, Jolie approached Pitt and asked him what was wrong. Pitt accused her of being too deferential to the children and verbally attacked her. An hour and a half later, Pitt abruptly walked over to Jolie, demanding, "Come here," and directed her to the back of the plane. He pulled her into the bathroom and began yelling at her. Pitt grabbed Jolie by the head and shook her, and then grabbed her shoulders and shook her again, before pushing her into the bathroom wall. Pitt then punched the ceiling of the plane numerous times, prompting Jolie to leave the bathroom. As she exited, one of her children asked, "Are you okay, Mummy?" Pitt yelled back, "No, Mummy's not okay," and started deriding Jolie with insults. When one of the children verbally defended Jolie, Pitt lunged at his own child, and Jolie grabbed him from behind to stop him. To get Jolie off his back, Pitt threw himself backwards into the airplane seat, injuring Jolie's back and elbow. The children rushed in and all bravely tried to protect each other. Before it was over, Pitt choked one of the children and struck another in the face. Some of the children pleaded with Pitt to stop. They were all frightened, many were crying. With nowhere to go and to avoid Pitt's wrath, Jolie and the children sat still and silent under a blanket. No one dared to go to the bathroom. Pitt periodically emerged from the back of the plane to yell and swear at them. At one point, he poured beer on Jolie. At another, he poured beer and red wine on the children. After many tense hours, Pitt finally fell asleep. Jolie then arranged for separate transportation at the airport. After they landed, Jolie cautioned the children that no matter what Pitt did, they should not intervene. She then went to wake Pitt up and told him that she and the children were going to a hotel. Pitt once again screamed at her and pushed her down yet again. He shouted that nobody was getting off the plane and prevented the family from deplaning for about 20 minutes. After a child intervened and demanded to leave, Pitt finally relented. But once outside the plane door, Pitt again physically abused one of their children. He also grabbed and shook Jolie by the head and shoulders, forcing one of the children to beg, "Don't hurt her." He let Jolie go, but then called her a bitch before adding, fuck you all." Jolie and the children then left and made it to the hotel. 5 days later, on September 19th, 2016, Jolie filed for divorce. Having been alerted to Pitt's conduct by a third-party witness, the private jet staff, the FBI launched an investigation. After interviewing various witnesses, the FBI agent who conducted the investigation concluded that the government had probable cause to charge Pitt with a federal crime for his conduct that day, and the agent prepared a probable cause statement for referral to the United States Attorney's Office for prosecution. Of course, he was not charged, and this whole cross complaint came out of this was in 2019. So sorry, skip forward a little bit there. This happened in 2016. They had an insane divorce that got really dragged out. I mean, years and years. And it was a lot to do with the custody. A lot of celebrities now will go to private judges so that they can like do everything under seal and it's not in the media. And there was this back and forth a lot. Like they had some of the children like testified. From everything that I've read, it seemed clear that the children did not want to go with Pitt and have any sort of visitation. A lot of the children, because the divorce took so long, a lot of them ended up turning 18 and they have all stopped having any sort of relationship with him. And the youngest twins, there was supervised visitation, and anytime there was any sort of supervised visitation, you bet that you would see a lot of like media pieces and stuff. And also, before the kids turned 18, their kids, like, what are they gonna do? There was a lot of this, oh, this kid has like a relationship with him. Like, there would always be a lot of pieces about Brad Pitt and Shiloh's relationship, and oh, the older kids don't talk to him, but him and Shiloh. But then when she turned 18, like the day she turned 18, like the first thing she did as an 18-year-old was drop his name. And all of the older kids, again, the twins are still underage, have dropped his name. My interpretation of this is that Angelina Jolie is doing whatever she can to prioritize her kids, to put her kids first, to try and keep this stuff out of the media. Obviously have followed this as long as it's been going on, but I hadn't like deep dived it. And I did a Patreon video about it probably about 6 months ago, but that was more about like the actual like divorce and stuff. And as I started looking into all of his things, I'm going to put a clip in here because I recorded it as I figured it out. And about 10 minutes into looking into like Brad Pitt, his PR and like his interview and stuff, I knew immediately who his PR was. I was like, it's one of these two people. Hi guys, it's research, Ash. I haven't even finished researching. I haven't written, I haven't filmed, I haven't edited anything. But these people are just so predictable. Like, I only posted my Seth Rogen video yesterday. Like, it's early. Like, I'm only not even a few hours into looking into all this stuff and putting the video together. And within half an hour, I was like, I know one of these two people is doing Brad Pitt's PR. 100%. And sure enough, I was like, it's either Melissa Nathan or it's Matthew Helsing. And of course, it was Matthew Helsing, or it is Matthew Helsing. I'm sure I'll give you a lot more information before this clip and after this clip, and maybe I won't even use this clip because it'll come off insane. But just wanted to record something while I'm finding out in the moment. So back to future me, actually, not even past me, future me. Hopefully, I've got something good to say. Bye. Our frequent mentions on the channel: Matthew Helsing, his protege Melissa Nathan. Both of those people I've talked about a lot because Melissa Nathan, the Rebel Wilson case she's involved in that we did a video about 2 videos ago. Of course, probably the biggest thing that she's been in the media about is the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively thing. And she used to work for Matthew Helsing, who there's Epstein was a client, Johnny Depp, like all these people, the big, massive media PR cases of years for years and years and years. And I mean, there's a list a mile long of other celebrities that have between the two of them that they've done the PR for. Sometimes I'm like, do something that's not so obvious, but then I'm like, no, don't, because it makes it so obvious. It makes it so obvious that this is just their playbook of everything. And again, like, Angelina Jolie does not have PR, and so I absolutely think that's to her detriment, but I think that she's seems to be focusing on her kids. And you do see this narrative sometimes of Angelina turned those kids against Brad Pitt. And I don't actually know if that is like an actual narrative or that is just like the PR push, because like all the fluff stories, like even all the things with the new girlfriend,
You skin
and
jerking
all of
because you
that,
have
like
stuff on
it's
you.
just trying to launder his reputation constantly, because you also
Okay, yeah, I like it
see,
way better
like,
carved.
the
So this is what it looks like carved.
example of this. That
This one is not done, so
probably
just
the past,
these
like,
two.
5 years,
And then
there's been
this is what it looks
so
like
much
not carved.
discussion
So I think it
about
looks
Brad
way
Pitt
better
saying,
carved.
oh, I was
I look
this
mad. Yeah.
alcoholic, and
That's
that
because I
was the
couldn't
old
see
me,
anything and I
everything
was
I did, you know, it was
squinting.
it wasn't my
But now I have light, so
decision,
it should be a lot better.
I'm a changed person. And I've
I
said
can
this
feel my
before,
face
but
not
every
pulling,
possible experience you can
not
have
pulling so many
with
faces.
people with alcohol addiction. You know, you're not here to hear about me and like my family and stuff, but
When this
believe me,
crowd
like,
dies out,
I
like when it goes
have
down to like
a
less
lot
viewers,
of
I'm gonna switch over to
experience
TikTok.
with not white picket fences, let's say that. And being an alcoholic doesn't make you a violent bastard. Like, it just doesn't. I hate this narrative. I know so many people who they do have substance problems, they do have problems with alcohol, and they are not violent, awful
Oh, I'm gonna
people.
regret that one.
Of course, people in active addiction do things that they wouldn't have done otherwise, but there are people that are alcoholics the same way. There are horrendous sober people and violent sober people. Being an alcoholic doesn't mean that you're abusive, that you're violent. It just doesn't. You're either an abusive person or you're not. Of course, you can get sober and make amends, and you won't do things that you were doing because of addiction, but I just hate this narrative that being a person who abuses substances makes you abusive, because it's just not true, in my opinion. Hi guys, Editing Ash and G here. I just wanted to jump in and give you just a little example of some of what I think is blatant manipulation by Brad Pitt's team, allegedly, So I'm just going to read you out a few of these magazine covers and I'll put them on the screen because I know like a lot of people either just listen or they are watching on mobile. So as I also mentioned, Matthew Helsing comes in 2016, and that is when you see this major shift in how Angelina Jolie is spoken about in the press. And the vast majority of the really, really negative stories that come out in the tabloid stuff is coming from Us Weekly. So I imagine Brad Pitt's team has very good rapport and sources and connections with Us Weekly, as they do a lot of the heavy lifting. So in the beginning, when the divorce had just, or Angelina Jolie had just filed for divorce, they did try and start this whole, oh, they're not actually getting divorced, the divorce is off. And then they then start to move into this Brad's hell. Oh, poor Brad Pitt, this poor man that's just this terrible victim of Angelina Jolie. This is a cover of Us Weekly. Her plot to destroy Brad. For months, Jolie secretly laid plans to take the kids from Brad, and he never saw it coming. There's other ones. No kids at Christmas. Pitt begs for time with them before the holidays. And then
I hate it when men, like pieces of shit men, get dumped by their girlfriends or baby mamas, and then they go on this like campaign on social media to like, I'm the best dad ever, I'm just good dad gang. And meanwhile, they're like drug addicts, totally fucking crazy, manipulative psychopaths.
Divorce and bitter
Hi, Mommy, I love you so much, but Mom, I'm busy. I'm sorry.
As the divorce rages on, Angelina wants to leave the country with the kid. Now, a furious Brad is fighting back. When the divorce actually happens, there's a lot of like, $400 million divorce, $450 million divorce. How Angie became
Go see what that is. That's your baby
cool
that's making that
witch.
noise.
Insane jealousy over Selena rumors. I don't even want to know what that was about. Brad wins. Angie couldn't afford to fight anymore because I have also heard that that is another thing that he's trying to do, is just like completely drain her of like, because obviously he's so much more
Mommy, I
rich
love
than
you
she
so
is.
much.
And then
She literally
there
just wants to
starts to
snuggle.
also be a reframing of the private jet flight.
She's balancing on my leg.
What really happened on the plane
and the
inside
table.
The dramatic standoff
Because she
that
just
ended
literally
the
wants to like
marriage.
lay
Whose
with me.
fault
What
was
a
it?
cutie patootie.
I have a thought about whose fault it was. There then started to be a lot of ones, like covers that would be why his kids turned against him. The actor is devastated as his daughters publicly drop his name. And then the last sort of thing I want to mention is about these covers now. The focus on Shiloh. I'm gonna show you some covers here, and every single mention apart from the kids, the only name that's ever mentioned is Shiloh. And this is happening when she was still a minor. And so my speculation is that is why Shiloh was the kid who was like, on the day I turn 18, I am changing my name, because that sends a clear message. And there have been like the kids go to premieres and stuff like that, and I'm only talking about them in this aspect. I don't like talking about kids and people who are, you know, they're not in the public eye apart from their parents and their private lives and stuff like that. But I also find it interesting that the kids don't speak about him at all, and there's only been like bits of information from other people, which when we go back to Past Me, I'll pick up with a big bit of information. When you take into account these headlines that I'm going to read you about Shiloh, and the fact that the kids have no relationship with him, changed her name the day she turns 18, and what we're going to talk about when we go back to Past Me, it's crazy that, I mean, that this was printed. Shiloh breaks Brad's heart. What she did in Paris that left Dad Pitt stunned. How Angie turned their 11-year-old against him. Brad's fears for Shiloh. What Shiloh knows. 15-year-old Shiloh destroyed by Angie. forced to wear dresses and testify against Brad. And then there's other covers that are like, forced to wear boys' clothes, which, what are boys' clothes? And then there's others like, Shiloh begs, save us, daddy. Freaked out kids don't want to be in lockdown with Angie.
Mommy,
Her house is like
she's
an
trying to
insane
sit on
asylum.
my toes now.
Let me
She
live
doesn't want
with
me to do
grandma.
this.
Shiloh begs Brad. Manipulated
What
by
are
her
you
mom,
doing?
Brad moves to protect his little girl. There also was a lot of publicity, magazine-wise, outlet-wise, like Access Hollywood, everywhere. When the plane stuff was coming out, there started to be all these stories about Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt secretly reuniting, and oh, what if they get back together? And this was all too around the time that Brad Pitt like won his Oscar and all the Golden Globe and all the other awards. And at every single award show, if Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston made eye contact, there was like 27 stories written about it, because guess what? Brad Pitt's team knows that is a really popular topic that people are going to click on, people are going to talk about, that they're going to be looking at, and they're not going to be looking over here at Brad Pitt strangling his kid, Brad Pitt pouring beer and wine in his family, verbally abusing his family, and the FBI investigating him over how he treated them on an international flight on a private jet. So we're going to go back to past me now. But I, again, wanted to just, I know this was like a long editing section, but I do think it's important for what we just talked about, and also this future Chateau trial that is apparently going to be happening in 2027. So back to past me. And while there are things that seem to make it clear how the kids feel, they haven't actually spoken on the record about Brad Pitt, but there are some other things that have come out that seem to clarify things even more, what their feelings are towards their father. One of the probably biggest pieces of information that came out from the kids was when Pax, the second oldest son, the third oldest kid, put a story up on his Instagram for his close friends and family, like it was a private Instagram account, and it did get leaked to the media. I've spoken a lot on the channel about how when you see a lot of these stories that are in places like the Daily Mail and online, and they quote sources close to, that is generally the celebrities team or someone in their circle that they've approved or instructed to go to the media. I have talked a lot about it in the Beckham videos that I did, and I did actually a Beckham video at the end of the summer, start of September, where I spoke about a lot of the stuff that ended up coming out in 2026, because they are the kings and queens of doing this. And so a lot of Brad Pitt stories, it will be sources close to, but this situation with Pax's story, it was actually leaked from his inner circle Instagram that was completely private. And this was a story that he posted on his Instagram on Father's Day. And again, I'm going to read it exactly so that nothing is misconstrued and the entire picture can be gathered. So he posted it with a picture of Brad Pitt accepting his acting Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And it says, "Happy Father's Day to this world-class asshole. You time and time again prove yourself to be a terrible and despicable person. You have no consideration or empathy towards your 4 youngest children who tremble in fear in your presence. You will never understand the damage you have done to my family because you're incapable of doing so. You have made the lives of those closest to me a constant hell. You may tell yourself and the world whatever you want, but the truth will come to light someday. So happy Father's Day, you fucking awful human being." You can't be more clear about your feelings than that. And I also think that it's really interesting that he wasn't necessarily talking about things that had been done to him or how he felt. Like, it was about how his siblings felt and how they have been affected and how Brad Pitt allegedly makes them all feel. So coupled together with the incident on the plane, I just think that it is absolutely unbelievable that this isn't ever talked about or ever covered or just even brought up in any way. And he still has this absolutely perfect, almost public image. And the things that they are even starting to do to feed even more into this perfect charismatic movie star is unbelievable. And the PR is responsible for all of it because, as I've said, Brad Pitt doesn't really do a lot of interviews, and the few he does are extremely, extremely orchestrated and managed. And that story, the FBI investigation, the kids changing their names, and how Brad Pitt behaves in general is why you will never see an actual interview other than the promotional fluff pieces like Armchair Expert. So when it comes to the incident on the plane, they did not charge Brad Pitt. And as I've spoken about many times on the channel, it is incredibly rare that things are even reported to the authorities when it comes to attacks on women and especially cases and things like that. And we know that it wasn't even Angelina that did bring the authorities into this. And so only a very, very small amount, less than 10%, are actually brought to authorities when it comes to assault cases or abuse cases. And of that 10%, only about 1.5% actually result in charges. Half or just over half of that results in a conviction. So it's just incredibly, incredibly rare. And I also wouldn't be surprised if Angelina did not want to bring this into the public arena, didn't want to make a whole circus out of it, because it would have been a huge, huge trial and just the coverage of it. And her kids were all young then, all of them were under 18, and they actually did like their divorce and anything they possibly could under seal because she didn't want the kids and what they'd been through discussed in the media. And it was only found out what happened on the plane because of Angelina actually having a case over why charges didn't happen in 2019 with the incident on the plane. And so it came out that way rather than it actually coming out in the time when it happened back over 10 years ago in 2016. She did actually file the suit under a pseudonym too, so she did try and keep that out, but it got exposed. And as we'll get into in a little minute, Brad Pitt's team is constantly, in my opinion, trying to get stuff out into the public, because even things that you think there's no way they could spin whatever story it is in his favor, they will. And I'll get into that more in just a minute. Hi guys, Editing Ash and G here. Just very quickly, I wanted to add, because I think some
Mama, watch
people
out,
might
watch out,
have a
watch out,
question
watch out,
about
watch out.
why a lot of these
Nope,
outlets and even Access Hollywood and even like YouTubers and TikTokers and stuff, why do these people go along with kind of the spin, like what's in it for them? And one, it sometimes is as simple, especially with like Us Weekly and In Touch and stuff like that, it can be as simple as they, the celebrity or their team, just have contacts there or have friends there or something like that. Because someone like Brad Pitt, who's super famous, has been famous forever, like he is gonna have people that he is just friendly with and all of that stuff. And it can also be as simple as there could be someone who just absolutely hates Angelina Jolie, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the same people are writing those stories about Brad Pitt and stuff. I don't have all of these magazines, so I can't actually like look into a lot of them. I have tried to read as many as I can like online. On the other side, which is the much more like common side, especially when it comes to like people are making online content, is of course money, because it is much, much more lucrative to talk very badly about a woman like that. It just is. If you look at even my channel, like I am talking all the time about celebrities and drama and gossip, whatever you want to say. And my Tyra Banks video has hundreds of thousands of views less than my Jonah Hill video.
Yeah, that's because it's Tyra Banks versus Jonah Hill. Nobody gives a fuck
one.
about Tyra.
When I released the
Jonah Hill.
Ellen and the Ashton Kutcher video within like the same month, the Ellen video now has more views, but for a long time, the Ashton Kutcher video had a lot more views. The Ellen one made a lot more money. and the videos get more comments, they get more clicks, they get more views usually. And in my heart of hearts, I know if this video was an anti-Angelina Jolie video, it would do much better. It would get more views, it would get more comments, and it would have a higher RPM, because RPM is basically the amount that your video is assigned per 1,000 views. That's every video on YouTube that's monetized. And your channel has an RPM, and it changes all the time. It's higher in December, it's lower in January. And the niche and the topic is a really big deciding factor, along with the audience and stuff. So I just wanted to provide that little bit of extra context, because I mean, I didn't know that before I did YouTube and stuff like that, and RPM and things. So that is why. But it is sometimes as simple as they just have contacts there and know people, and it's like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine sort of thing, with, you know, all of the stories and everything like that, with especially Us Weekly and the like. So back to Past Me. Just to finish up by saying what actually happened with the divorce, the chateau, and what I mentioned earlier about having kind of an extra reason for why I wanted to make this video. The divorce did actually wrap up. It did actually finish, and they were legally and everything divorced, because they were actually legally declared separated years ago, but they weren't fully everything divorced and like tied up, apart from the 164 million chateau estate winery thing. That is still ongoing, and I will mention that in just a second. But the divorce was actually finished in December 2024. So they were in the process of a divorce for 8 years. And what a lot of celebrities do now is they will, what I was mentioning earlier about a private judge, they will hire a private judge to deal with it so that they can seal everything. And that's why we don't really know like a lot of the details and stuff. But originally, there was a private judge hired who said that he didn't have any sort of conflicts of interest, and that judge was actually kicked off the case because he had business dealings with Brad Pitt's side. So then that slowed things down, but obviously that was slowing things down a bit. Most of it was over all of the situation with the kids and some of the financial stuff. And so they were legally separated and legally declared single, but it did take 8 years for everything to be actually concluded and squared away. And then the situation with the chateau, about a week ago, it's the 17th of April that I'm filming the second half of this video, and about a week ago, Brad Pitt's side put out like a very twisted narrative, and it went to all the typical sites, TMZ and Daily Mail and stuff, saying that Angelina Jolie was trying to buy all this time for the chateau, and it wasn't what a lot of the headlines were saying. It wasn't, it was given like a very skewed version if you actually read what was happening in the case. And the bottom line is the case is still ongoing, and they have a trial scheduled for February 2027. Hi guys, Editing Ash here. So I want to jump in because I want to redo this bit about the Chateau case, because I want to add in even more information, because I have been just getting more and more agitated as I continue to check this video, and I'm hoping to put it out today, because it is just so unbelievable how different the story in the mainstream media is about this chateau situation and what's in the legal documents. Honestly, it's crazy. And like the stuff with the magazines and the kids and all of that stuff, it is so one-sided, and it seems so obvious where the information in the mainstream media is coming from. And I do just want to also say, like, I'm not saying in any way like, oh, people are better or worse for believing this or believing that, or not reading the legal documents or whatever. Like, people are busy, people might not be interested in this stuff, people might have just picked up a magazine in the grocery store checkout. Like, I'm not saying in any way like, oh, we're better because we follow all this stuff, or anything, like, I am just always trying to give you all the
Oh
information.
my god, you literally apologize so much.
It's so jarring how different the two narratives are. And also, I'm going to make some predictions for what I think we're unfortunately going to see, given that this case is going to go to trial in February 2027, it seems. And I think that it's going to follow this pattern that is going with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, because there's only one side spending obscene amounts of money and putting out stories and all of that stuff. As I said, I think that Angelina Jolie is prioritizing her kids and not fighting back in the media, and I think that she knows that's kind of a losing battle. It just is creating situations like this, with the Chateau saga being very, very different than what is documented in all of these legal filings. So I will go over all the some other like bits and pieces to point out as we go through this kind of story. This will be like a little bit of a longer editing section again, but it will be worth it, I think, because of just how crazy this information is, especially if you have been even slightly aware of the narrative around this Chateau story. So if you aren't aware, if you hear me say Miraval, that's what they call it sometimes in the legal documents. That's the name of it. But it's this estate. They both owned 50-50 in it. And so they had an agreement that if one of them wanted to sell their half, they had to, one, go to the other and give them first refusal. And if they didn't buy it, then they could sell it elsewhere. But they had to kind of give them the first option and also kind of tell them about it, basically, if they were going to sell it somewhere else. And so that is kind of agreed on. The story in the mainstream media right now is that Angelina Jolie wanted to fuck over Brad Pitt, and she didn't tell him, didn't go to him, didn't give him first option, and then went and sold to someone else who ended up being the competition, because it's like a winery and vineyard and all of this. And so now poor victim Brad Pitt is in this kind of 50-50 deal with these people he doesn't want to be in a deal with, and he decides to sue Angelina Jolie over this transaction. So now we're going to talk about what, in my opinion, seems to actually have happened. And this is most of the stuff that I'm going to read out. Well, all the stuff I'm going to actually read, like word for word, is from the legal filings. And I have talked about other points in the video, because this is the cross complaint that was filed by Angelina Jolie's lawyers, and there was actually an update to this just a few days ago, and I will mention that towards the end too. So you might have seen around the time I'm releasing this video, it's the 22nd of April today, more bits of this story coming out. So what is in these legal documents is that not only did Angelina Jolie go to Brad Pitt and his team and offer them first refusal of Miraval, because he wanted to keep it and she wanted to sell it, they actually had a deal. They actually had put together an entire deal, and they really only needed to sign it. And this deal was done in February 2021. So this is word for word in the document. On February 25th, 2021, after extensive negotiations, Jolie and Pitt reached an agreement where Pitt would purchase Jolie's interest for $54.5 million. The agreement included a simple non-disparagement clause, quote, relating to the wine business. And there's actually exhibits and everything showing this agreement and all of the things that I'm mentioning. They have the entire thing in this document. And of course, it will be linked below, and I'll put it like right at the top of the sources, like bolded, so you can tell straight away where this document is. So the deal is squared away. It seems like it's going to happen, and then Brad Pitt and his lawyers don't seem to be coming back to them. And so by April 16th, 2021, then Brad Pitt's team send Angelina and her team a revised offer to purchase Angelina's share, even though everything was already agreed upon. And this new offer was exactly the same amount. The only change was it contained a new expansive NDA. This is from the document. Quote, the new NDA required Jolie to make a commitment to not publicly denigrate Miraval's province and its direct and indirect shareholders, including Mr. William Bradley Pitt. And it removed the previously agreed upon limitation that the NDA cover only Miraval's business. So, in other words, everything with this deal was the same, but Brad Pitt now wanted not just an NDA that Angelina Jolie couldn't speak about the business, she couldn't speak about him or say anything negative about him, period. So Angelina's team go back and say, no, we're going to include an NDA that says, quote, each party undertakes to not publicly and intentionally denigrate the business or solely in their role and capacity pertaining to the business, its direct and indirect shareholders, including Miss Angelina Jolie and Mr. William Bradley Pitt. So Angelina Jolie is sending back the revised NDA that was the original agreement, saying, no, I won't speak about the business. I won't speak about
He was trying to
anything
trap
do
her in a
with the
contract where he
business,
could say
you in
whatever and
regards
she
to the
couldn't.
business, but I'm not signing an NDA for you in our personal life and what you had done in your personal life. So that is sent. Angelina Jolie's team hears nothing. They send another response on May 9th and the same offer, the money, everything. They hear absolutely nothing. And on May 28th, they send a notice to Brad Pitt and his team saying, hello, like, what's going on? Are you going to take this proposal or not? So Angelina's team again goes back to Brad Pitt and says, this is the final proposal. Like, we are not signing the NDA about the personal stuff. And this deal had been squared away at the end of February, or not even the end of February, mid-February. And so they say to him, this is the final option, and we're giving you until the 31st of May, 2021 to accept it. So not only did Pitt not reply by the May 31st deadline, he then went back on June 2nd with an even more extensive NDA, and I'll put both the legalese on the screen and the quote that I'm going to read, because I just can see the writing on the wall with what's going to happen here with this trial. By design, the new expansive NDA prohibited Jolie from speaking other than in court about Pitt's abuse of Jolie and their children by attempting to tie Pitt's personal reputation to Miraval's business. Jolie refused to sign it, and by June 3rd, 2022, the deal was dead. So after 2 years of trying to work this deal out and 6 years of the divorce, they don't work it out because Brad Pitt wants her to completely gag herself and tie her hands, and she says, no, I'm not going to sign and say I'm never going to speak about you in any sort of negative way, or the kids or anything like that. So when that falls apart, Angelina Jolie then gets her counsel to try and find another deal, because why would she want to keep this and keep in business with him? Like, of course she's not going to want to do that. And so they find another purchaser. Jolie and her counsel go to Pitt and his counsel and say that they are going to give notice to the court to lift the automatic restraining order, temporary restraining order that was on their assets that together, because that just happened when they filed for divorce. And Pitt's counsel said, are you asking to do this because you're selling your interest in Miraval to someone else? And Jolie's counsel, which there is proof of, says, yes, this is what we are doing. And so not only was there an original deal, all the stuff I mentioned, that it was happening, it got fucked around, they also told them that they had found someone else because Brad Pitt would not sign the deal, because Angelina Jolie wouldn't sign this crazy NDA, in my opinion. And this isn't what Us Weekly told us happened. So then it all falls out. Brad Pitt sues Angelina Jolie over this. Again, it's very, very, very expensive, and this has been going on for years and years and years. I just know what's going to happen with this. If it does go to trial, there will be over the next, 10 months, there will just be this onslaught of twisting everything, and all those magazine covers that we were reading about all the stuff about Shiloh this and Angelina, this cruel, cold witch and stuff, that will just go into overdrive, because that was the mid 2010s. We're in a completely different realm now. And even things like bots and stuff like that, like, yeah, that stuff's still used, but that's basic compared to what they do now. I imagine, especially the very expensive and effective PR team, they will be doing things like clipping. So a lot of the people now that you see like blow up out of nowhere and all of a sudden their clips are everywhere, in like a lot of Discord servers, and there's like influencers and YouTubers that do this, like really popular ones that people would be familiar with. They will go in Discord servers and they'll be like, or their teams, and say, hey, I want you to clip cute clips of Miss G, and I want you to clip clips of Miss G, doing her little hop when she jumps onto here. And they will pay, it's a lot of the time people that don't live in first world countries. And so they assign these clips like, oh, an amount, and they will put bounties on things too. So say there's a clip of Miss G jumping on my shoulder. Oh, if you do a bunch of the shoulder clips, then we'll pay more and stuff like that. And so that's why you will see like this onslaught of things. And there's so much other stuff as well with like Reddit, and mark my words, there's going to be a smear campaign to end all smear campaigns against Angelina Jolie. I mean, it's been going on to some extent for 10 years, but especially if this is going to go to trial, it's going to be crazy. And you'll also start to see a lot, in my opinion, a lot more of these fluff pieces about Brad Pitt, these very carefully curated GQ interviews and armchair expert interviews and stuff like that. And also you'll see a lot more with his girlfriend Inez, and like all of these very wholesome things. And I wouldn't be surprised if there starts to be some like anonymous stories about him rescuing kittens from trees or something. I feel like a tinfoil hat conspiracy person saying this, but we'll see what happens. And I definitely imagine, unless this video like completely bombs, that I'll do a follow-up, and I definitely will look at covering the trial. I mean, even if it does, I'll probably do a video on my other channel, Coffee Cults and Cats, because I just am really interested in this. The stuff like this, the Rebel Wilson, which I have to do a follow-up on that, because it's oh my god. Anyway, sorry that this was such a long editing section. I just thought that it was really important to talk about, and thank you for sticking with me and for being here. But there is a little bit more that I want to talk about, and thank you again, but I'll throw it back to past me. The one other thing that I wanted to mention is the project that Brad Pitt is involved in right now with Channing Tatum, because it has a little, not like personal tie, but just something that actually involves the homeland, the birthplace of the famous Miss J, who is back there on her own personal branded blanket that is in the merch store. But I just got the sample yesterday, or she just got the sample yesterday, and she is obsessed with it. It's really like soft and fluffy, so she is living her best life back there. And she did need another blanket because she only has 27 of them, probably more honestly. But Miss J is from a magical place called the Isle of Man, and most people only know, this is relevant, two things about the Isle of Man. One is Manx cats, which Miss G's dad is a Manx cat, so she has the gene, and they are cats with no tails. They either have nothing at all, a rumpy, or they have a little stump and they're a stumpy. And I'm sure there might be some other little differences, but I'll have to ask the only one of my family members who watches these videos is my cousin who's a vet, so I'll double check with her. But one other thing that's really famous about the Isle of Man, that if they don't answer Manx cats, they usually say this as what they know it for, which is the TT Tourist Trophy bike races. And these are really, really famous motorbike races where it's actually on real roads. They are insane because the roads on the Isle of Man are like really tiny. They go over 100 miles an hour, and they actually close the real roads that like people drive on for these races, and it's over like a 2-week period at like the end of May, start of June. So many people go to the Isle of Man to watch the races from all over the world, and it's just a really, really big thing. So 3 years ago, my channel, I think I had maybe 15,000 subscribers at this time. Channing Tatum came to the Isle of Man to look into doing a possible movie or like documentary around the TT races. And he stayed for like, there's like a practice week and then there's the race week. And nearly everyone I know on the Isle of Man at one point met him at that time. So it's really small. You know, I'll put a map and stuff, but it is a very small island. And there's lots of other things about it. And another very famous thing about it is it's a tax haven. So the races were happening. Channing Tatum was apparently working on some sort of documentary, and there was like a lot of discussion around it, and then you didn't hear about it for a while. But there was a bit more. I heard like some people saying that, oh, it is going to happen, because when there was the original discussion around this in May 2023, when Channing Tatum went to the Isle of Man and was there for the whole 2 weeks of the festival, he was having like articles come out. And of course, like I've said, whenever I mention the Isle of Man, it's a very small place, everyone knows everyone. People were like, oh, there's this documentary that's happening. But then articles that were coming out were saying that Amazon, yes, was doing a documentary, but they were also going to do a movie too. And the movie seemed to be kind of an afterthought for a while. There definitely was a lot more chatter around the docu-series, and so that kind of died down. The documentary was still going ahead and everything, and until last summer 2025, I really didn't hear anything. And then I started to hear bits and pieces again that this was going to happen, and I started to think it might happen this year because of the success of the Formula One movie and how much money it made. Actually, Amazon picked up this TT movie the same month that the Formula One movie came out in June 2025, because a Formula One movie made over $630 million off a $2 to $3 million budget. And with Brad Pitt starring in it and producing it, he will have made an absolute fortune off it. And there's a lot of reasons why you would do a TT movie for the race, but also, as I mentioned, the Isle of Man is a very attractive place to do business. And I've had this video on, or this topic on my list for a really long time. As I mentioned, I did a Patreon video about their divorce over a year ago. I started to think like, oh, maybe I should do the Brad Pitt, one of the next videos, because on the off chance that they are going to do this movie, I think that they might film it this year at the TT, because it would be impossible to recreate the TT 2-week festival, because it's not like you could just go and film it at a track or something. Like the whole point of the race, the whole reason it's famous is it is the oldest race. It's on real roads. They're going over 100, closer to 200 miles an hour. Just even the way people watch it, they're in like fucking bushes and like on the side of the road and things, like literally. So that's why people love to go. So on the off chance that they were going to film it this year, I wanted to cover it anyway. So I thought maybe I should do it now. And as I always say, my powers are insane, because the powers are very specific, that they only work for, I'll talk about someone in a video and then even now when I'm making the video, something happens with it, because literally as I was about to film the second half of this, I had to push it back a few hours, which is why there's the dinner chunk in between, because there was an article that came out today saying that in TT this year, which is 5 weeks from now, they are going to start production on a TT movie starring Channing Tatum. And Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt are going to be producing it and involved with it and everything. So
It's almost like a
that
piano
is
design.
currently in the works. I don't know to what degree or like how big it is. I'm sure that it will be. I mean, Brad Pitt and Channing Tatum are producing it.
I'm so
and
glad you could see the
the
table more
project
than I thought.
works
That's
on
so
now,
good.
production-wise, do get significant traction. And I just know the Elfman being so small and everybody knowing each other and things as well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion about Brad Pitt and it in any way when he's back in the news. I just think that this stuff should be talked about. And if you look him up on YouTube, and obviously, like, you know, I'm, as I said, a little fish, but when you look up him on YouTube, all you really see are his carefully curated PR interviews and also all of these AI slot channels that it very much looks like they are being produced with a very specific purpose. Not all of them, but some of them, because the other videos on those channels that have lots about Brad Pitt, they seem to also have a lot of videos that are about the other clients of these specific PR agents. And even some of the channels only seem to have videos about the people who are these clients of these PR agents. So that is just another little reason that I wanted to talk about this. But again, I just don't think that it's really covered much at all. I will be keeping an eye on the Chateau thing. I'll be keeping an eye on the TT thing as well. And if there's anything else in the future, I'll be looking out for that too. And if there's ever like little not little stories, but stories that wouldn't warrant an whole other video like the possible trial might, I will do a video on my Coffee Cults and Cats channel, which is, it's my second channel, but this actually is my second channel, really. So I guess it's my third channel. And I do also have a fourth channel that is compilation videos. So it's like all the Scientology videos, all the WB show videos, and it's supposed to be video so long you'll never have to hear your own thoughts again. So I'm starting to try to build those channels up as well, and I do want to do more like shorter current event pop culture type stuff on the Coffee Cults and Cats channel. So I'll leave those linked down below, along with my social media, G's social media, G's merch store. G and I are also doing a giveaway for her new merch shirts. So if you'd like to enter that, all you have to do is be subscribed and leave a comment with G's full government name, which is Gloria. And if you did make it to the end, leave MVP below so I can thank you for watching. I appreciate anybody who watches these videos, but especially if you make it to the end. So thank you so much if you did. As always, make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and G and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Is there a freaking motorcycle, like, in my driveway? Cause what the hell? Oh, he's having issues. His bike keeps backfiring. Baby kitties are playing with the jingle ball thing that I gave them. Bro, this motherfucking motorcycle is back again. Why is there a fucking motorcycle that keeps driving by my house? I don't like it. I love that the babies are playing with the toys. It's so cute. Saggy, huh? I would hope so. I've nursed 2 babies. There's that fucking motorcycle again, dude. I'm getting creeped out. He's turning around again, dude. He's driving by again. This is the 5th time. Bro. The fuck? Look, even Orly's like alerted. I can still hear the motorcycle. It's literally like 2 driveways down, pulled over on the side of the road, just like revving his engine and shit. here that fucking guy comes again, dude. Can hear the fucking motorcycle again, dude. Just why is it slowing down when it gets to my house? Good boy. My dog is in alert mode right now. Only halfway. Oh, I forgot to put something on. There's 12 people in here. Thanks, Shauna. I like to mind my own fucking business. And try and do right by the world.
In the history of box
I forgot to go get
office bombs,
propane.
few films have as big of an infamous reputation.
It's okay, I can take the propane that's over there, I guess. It's
even while
really
it was still
cold.
in production, star and producer Kevin Costner's movie was labeled as a disaster, and in the years since, Waterworld has been synonymous with big budget feeling. Except that's not true. Yes, Waterworld's production was a mess, and when combined with its massive spectacle, led to the film being the most expensive movie ever made at the time of its release, which attracted plenty of criticism. Yes, the film that was released into theaters disappointed Universal Pictures in its box office performance and didn't connect with audiences in the ways that its creators were hoping. But what if I told you that Waterworld actually made a profit, actually created its own fandom over the years, and actually has an alternate cut that's pretty great? This is the story of Waterworld, the infamous box office bomb that's better than anyone thinks. While Waterworld's story ends with the dubious honor of being the most expensive movie ever made at the time of its release, and the byproduct of its star's ego run rampant, The beginning of our tale couldn't be any more different. And it all starts with one man famous for spending as little money as possible on the wildest ideas imaginable, Roger Corman. During a career that spanned more than 70 years and ran through multiple studios, some of which he founded, Roger Corman directed 55 films and produced close to 400 more. And while the quality, popularity, and necessity of those movies range from A Bucket of Blood to The Pit and the Pendulum to Death Race 2000 to Slumber Party Massacre 3 and everything in between, Corman's guiding philosophy was to get his movies made as cheaply and as quickly as possible. So by the time that screenwriter Peter Rader, fresh out of college and hoping to break into film, met with Corman in 1986 in the hopes of making a movie, the seed for Waterworld was planted with a very simple and then very popular idea. Rip off Mad Max. Ooh, Mad Max talk, yes. Okay, so by the mid-80s, the Mad Max trilogy had already come and gone, with writer and director George Miller and star Mel Gibson pumping out Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome in just 6 years, with the franchise and its creator undergoing a huge evolution from no-budget, law-breaking indie exploitation to mainstream appealing big-budget adventure. But Mad Max showed that with just a little money and the right desolate setting, a future-set dystopian adventure was possible for anyone. Cue movies like 1990, Bronx Warriors, Warlord of the 21st Century, or 2019, After the Fall of New York, which threw
Yeah,
the dash
I
of
liked
escape
watching
from
that in
New
some
York
of my
for
videos
pleasure.
when I put
Rader
time
and
lapses on.
screenwriter Brad Trevoy's idea to differentiate their project
I like
as
that.
much as possible from Mad Max and its many other ripoffs was to take the same type of post-apocalyptic story and move it onto the water. The only problem was that that setting alone immediately made their film way more expensive than the $5 million budget that Corman would have set for the movie. See, filming on the water is notoriously expensive and infamous for being a ton of trouble. The making of Jaws was such a nightmare that Steven Spielberg vowed to never make a movie set on the ocean again. The Abyss saw James Cameron torture his crew for an underwater epic. Essentially, the rule is that any movie shot on the water will be infinitely harder than you expect. We'll get more into how that would make the actual production of the movie a nightmare later on, but Rader's initial script had most of the elements that would be part of the finished film years later, not accounting for budget, location, or practicality. And yeah, it's totally a Mad Max ripoff. Our central character, the Mariner, is a lone survivor that wanders this wet wasteland with no interest in others, only the survival of himself and his companion. In this case, a tomato plant he waters with his own filtered pee. The Earth is stripped of resources, in this case because of there being no land, which I guess is important for life. And eventually, the Mariner is forcibly brought into the fight for survival and a brighter future by good people battling a charismatic cult leader, and in the process becomes a better person. But there's some real weird stuff in here too that didn't make it to the screen later. There were some very surreal elements at Rader. One of the things that made the Mariner, originally called Noah, unique in my script was that he originally had a white
There's that
horse on his
fucking
boat,
motorcycle
which was
again.
a river barge at that point. It was surreal.
Bro, why
They
in
didn't
the
show anyone
fuck
on the
is
horse,
there a
who would always ride it.
motorcycle
The next
driving
phase of the
back
film's
and
life
forth
began
and
when Rader
back
directed
and
his
forth
first
in
feature
front
film,
of my
Grandmother's
house?
And off of the back of that movie, sent out the Waterworld script on spec, meaning that it wasn't commissioned by any studio, but was instead shopped around to any potential buyers in any studio. This led to producers Andy Leaked and Jeff Mueller picking up the script and planning on shooting it for a modest budget by using an enclosed water tank in Malta. Actually, the exact same one would want to be used in a previous subject of one of my videos, Cutthroat Island, which would similarly balloon in cost and bomb at the box office. But the plan was for a budget of around $30 million. Not massive, but instead just right for a mid-budget hit in the early 90s, with Largo Entertainment and director Neil Schwab, who had previously made the adventure film Pathfinder, attached. However, Waterworld's time at Largo was brief because in 1992, Universal Pictures became interested in making the film instead. According to Leeds, we got a call from one executive who said that if we did not play along with CAA and Universal, neither company would ever do business with us again. And so out was Largo, and in was Universal, and most importantly, its star, one Kevin Costner. Okay, so this is the moment that 9 years of my channel have finally been leading toward. I get to talk about the strange and utterly unique megastar Hollywood career of Kevin Costner. Okay, Matt, Don't screw this up. Don't just talk about open range. To me, Kevin Costner feels like both the epitome of a Hollywood megastar and a total outlier. Really, he essentially went from nobody to star actor in an instant, going from being the dead friend who had all his scenes cut in The Big Chill to the lead of The Untouchables and No Way Out, both in 1987. Follow that up with back-to-back baseball-centered hits in Bull Durham and Field of Dreams, and Costner was a huge star by the end of the 80s. And then Costner almost immediately jumped in directing a massive feature without any previous experience with Dances with Wolves, which Costner struggled to get financed due to the novel it was based on not having much of a reputation, and the Western not just being unpopular, but seen as almost radioactive following the massive bomb of previous video subject Heaven's Gate. The combination of Costner's rapidly expanding ego, the massive production, and the seemingly doomed nature of the project led to trade papers and critics dubbing the in-production film Kevin's Gate after Cimino's disaster. The only problem was, Dances with Wolves was a massive hit, making more than $400 million against its $22 million budget and winning 7 of its 12 Academy Award nominations. The Kevin's Gate label didn't stick, so they put it back in the drawer for another opportunity. Costner had built up his star incredibly fast, bet on himself, and majorly won against all odds. As for the actual quality of his acting, well, I think Costner is kinda hard to define. I wouldn't say he's an amazing actor. He definitely shows his limitations when putting on a really shaky accent that he can't maintain in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, JFK, or here in Waterworld, where he sorta has a main accent for a couple lines every 20 minutes.
A couple of hours ago, I was potential dirt to you.
But he has that indefinable star feeling that made him an attraction, at least for a little while. Oh, and I love Open Range. Incredible movie. Okay, so why that's all important is that Costner's movies were mega hits year after year, and they continued to push his power behind the camera. So when it came time for him to be interested in Waterworld and to take it all over, everything about the production changed. Suddenly, the movie was under Universal, Licht and Mueller were out, and Peter Rader was replaced by a screenwriter, David Twohy, who had recently written The Fugitive and one of the many unused versions of Alien 3. At that point, I had done 6 or 7 drafts, said Rader, and they decided they wanted to bring in a new voice because I was so burnt out on the whole thing. I was bummed out and disappointed, but that's just the nature of the beast. Twohy rewrote the film into a more serious version, which was then given an uncredited rewrite by Joss Whedon while the film was being shot. And all the while, the budget kept going up, up, up. Now it was $60 million, with $14 million alone being paid to Costner, who had brought on director Kevin Reynolds, who had helped on Dances with Wolves and also directed Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. The funny thing is that the two Kevins had already butted heads on Robin Hood. In fact, they fought so much that Reynolds walked out on the film during editing, angry with Costner's ego and skipping the premiere. It wouldn't be the last time. The journey to making Waterworld was already tumultuous, but it was when production began that the real problems really started. Okay, hold on, wait. What's Waterworld actually about? The year is 2500. Ooh, nice and round. And centuries earlier, the polar ice caps completely melted, submerging every continent in water and forcing the remaining humans to survive on boats, ancient tankers, and scraps of metal they formed into floating communities they call atolls. But humanity has, unsurprisingly, fallen apart, and is near the end. And this is where we meet Costner's central character, a survivor known only as the Mariner, who is a mutated man with gills to breathe underwater known as an ichthyosapien, just like that Abe sapien, who encounters Helen, played by Jean Triplehorn, a survivor who has adopted a young girl, Enola, played by Tina Majorino, whose back has a mysterious map tattoo that might show the way to dry land. But they're soon targeted by the maniacally scenery-chewing Dennis Hopper as Deacon and the forces of the Smokers. Michael Jeter is also here in a supporting role, and I just want to say that I love Michael Jeter. And as a film, Waterworld is pure spectacle. Obviously, everything here is done on a massive scale, with huge battles playing out across the ocean, atolls, and tankers as fiery explosions rip across many, many stuntmen flipping around. It's giving big stunt show energy, which only became more appropriate after the film's premiere. It's also trying to really establish its own rules and logic for this world as, given that the entire planet was flooded centuries ago, People have created different types of legends, currency, and survival tactics over time. Yes, that means drinking your own pee, thankfully after it's been filtered, and while that makes some degree of sense, I still don't know why they chose to make this the first thing you see. Now, 30 years later, and what really stands out about Waterworld are two things. First, Costner's character of the Mariner is a truly unlikable guy for the majority of the movie. He's willing to even kill a kid for the sake of saving his own rations, and is just a straight-up asshole until he finally softens in the third act. It's probably too much for too long to actually root for him, but it's very different from how most anti-heroes in big-budget films are usually just jerks with hearts of gold to make them easier to like. Second, the sheer amount of practical sets, effects, and stunts is wild. CGI is used very sparingly here and looks pretty bad. But the breadth of open ocean and huge-scale scenes with very little movie magic to cheat looks more and more insane in the years that follow. And that's because Waterworld really did film out on the ocean.
Comes that fucking
Using
motorcycle
a seawater
again.
enclosure off the coast of Hawaii that did provide some control over the water for the crew, but clearly not enough. The set wasn't a 3-ring circus. It was a 12-ring circus, said Reynolds. The scale was enormous, especially the giant floating set, the atoll. We had hundreds of extras, dozens and dozens of guys on jet skis and helicopters with cameras on them. The legendary complications of filming a movie out on the water had come to haunt Waterworld, with so many different problems happening one after another, including the entire set used for the atoll sinking due to a storm and having to be rebuilt. But it's the small things that actually added up and made Waterworld into the huge disaster that it was during production. Bad weather, safety issues, constantly changing shots because of the motion of the ocean, where nothing was ever quite set or quite right, and makeup had to be done over and over again, with the makeup department being on their own boat and having to drive in for each shot, made everything so much harder and take so much longer to film than anyone expected. When the ground that you're filming on is constantly moving water, you don't really have any stability to making your movie. Plus, on top of all of this, Costner's stunt double got the bends during one of the shots, which caused Universal to expend way more money on safety that they had not taken into their budget at all prior to the beginning of this shoot. And so, Waterworld's scheduled for 6. Its initially set budget of $100 million from Universal kept growing and growing. By the time production was finished, the final budget for Waterworld was $175 million, setting a new record for most expensive movie ever made. This has, of course, been topped many, many times since, to the point of not even being in the top 50 most expensive films, but at the time, it was such a leap forward in cost, and for something that was becoming a widely reported on spectacle that could become a disaster, that industry reports had their knives out before it even hit theaters. And so, once again, the label Kevin's Gate was pulled out and slapped on Waterworld. This time now able to apply to both star and director, as well as the pretty funny insult of fish tar, taking inspiration from another famous bomb, Elaine May's Ishtar. I will not be making an Ishtar video.
These men are pawns.
The press wanted it to bomb, said Reynolds. The head of Universal, Bill Washington, thought the bad publicity cost us at least $50 million in the box office. The reviews were painful. People didn't like it. I remember publicists saying that people walked out of a press screening. And then one guy said, well, it didn't suck. That was the attitude. People walked out expecting to be disappointed and weren't. After production wrapped, the battle between Kevin's Costner and Reynolds quickly escalated. Fights on set over Costner's control over the movie led to Reynolds walking off one day and leaving Costner in charge, shouting at the actor, now Kevin gets to work with his favorite actor and director. And eventually, Costner took over control of editing, locking Reynolds out of the production. And as negative press coverage of the film continued, Universal began to worry about its performance.
Bro, I think that
cut
some
the film
man is
down
like
from its
casing
initial
my
nearly
house.
3-hour length to 2 hours and 15 minutes in order to put more showings per day into theaters.
I gotta get my gun.
Waterworld was going to be a disaster, no matter how it actually performed. Okay, so let's get down to it.
Good. No, I did not end the stream. I am back. I just had to check on that. fucking motorcycle.
Place that year.
That was
But internationally, Waterworld did really well, making $175 million outside the US for a total of $264 million. When taking the cost of marketing and the split of ticket costs between studio and movie theaters, Waterworld lost millions for Universal. But in the days of home video rental being a true difference maker in film, Waterworld would go on to not only make back its cost, but be a steady profit maker over the following years. Sure, that's not as flashy or as fun as either being a mega hit or a mega bomb, but it goes to show the public perception pushed by entertainment news looking for
really,
attention
like,
and
stop,
the
you're gonna, like,
reality of
fart
movie making are
really
often
bad.
two very different things. Still, the immediate impact of the film hurt Universal, and in the aftermath, Universal president
That's
Sid
enough,
Sheinberg,
thank
while
you. Good
admitting mistakes
job.
made by Costner and Reynolds,
Good
said,
job.
"I'm
You're
the
such a good
president.
boy.
I'm the
Thank
chief
you.
operating officer. Let him blame me."
You just scared
And
everybody
he did.
away.
Sheinberg
You
was
did your
released from
job.
Universal
Now you can
the
stop.
same month that Waterworld premiered, as the Seagram Company took over Universal when they bought MCA. Waterworld is definitely the first major stumbling block.
Good
in
boy.
Costner's
Thank you.
career.
All done.
It doesn't help that Costner was so heavily involved in the issues surrounding the film, and afterward, Costner obviously tried to redo the movie with Postman in 1997. Essentially, Waterworld on the ground, and Costner once again the savior of humanity. But the Postman did way worse, making $30 million against an $80 million budget. Costner's career was never as strong as that first decade,
I
where it
guess the
seemed as if he
postman
could build
doesn't
any
always
project
ring
into
twice.
success.
Ah.
And while there were plenty of ups and downs, Costner eventually went on to truly make a film worthy of being called Kevin's Gate with Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1 in 2024, which was shot back-to-back with Chapter 2 as part of an intended 4-part series, only for Chapter 1 to do so poorly that the completed Chapter 2 was pulled from its release date and has continued to sit on the shelf. Not great when Costner himself mortgaged his $50 million property to fund the films. As for Reynolds, he'd go on to make a few other decent hits like The Count of Monte Cristo while remaining Costner's sworn enemy for decades, until the two decided to work together again on the History Channel miniseries Hatfields and McCoys, which would lead to Costner in the Yellowstone series and then Horizon. Okay, so this is where I gotta talk about the Ulysses cut for a minute. Like I said earlier, Waterworld was initially almost 3 hours long before they trimmed almost 40 minutes out of it. And the result is that the theatrical cut is kinda nonsensical. The Mariner suddenly shifts from total douche to seeing Enola as a friend he died for. Enola's mysterious tattoo that eventually leads them to dry land has no real explanation. And at the end, when the heroes have found land, the Mariner just leaves because he doesn't like it. The thing is, all those flaws are fixed in an extended cut that came to be known as the Ulysses cut, which was first assembled by fans using footage from an extended TV version and combining it with the theatrical. Eventually, an official version was released by Arrow Home Video in 2019, and I'm here to tell you that it's awesome. While the movie is much longer, there are really crucial scenes added back in that explain everything and give its characters more well-rounded dynamics. Plus, the end is 100% more satisfying, as the Mariner leaves land determined to spread the message of its salvation, and having never been given a name, is lovingly named Ulysses by Helen.
To his family, and he never left them again. His name was Ulysses.
Who discovers, along with Enola, that the dry land was once Mount Everest. I cannot for the life of me understand why so much of this was cut, but if you're on the fence about Waterworld, check out this version, because it's a really good wet movie. I mean, this is a slick flick.
38, 39, 40 quarters. This better be good.
Game over. Please deposit 40 quarters.
What a rip!
Today, Waterworld's lasting legacy might be a stunt show.
No,
at
baby.
Universal Studios
Nope,
Parks.
we're all
Oh my
done.
God. I get to talk about theme park history again. I just get to sneak it on in there. I swear, this was not the only reason that I made this.
No.
When
I'm
Waterworld
not
was still
stupid.
in
I know what you want to do.
Universal and director of attractions at the Hollywood Park, Tom Thornton.
I know you want to just go out there and bark at that dog.
The out-of-date Miami Vice stunt show. And when you look at all the action in the film, It's not surprising that the park latched onto Waterworld. I mean, come on, this thing is already a couple cases of animal abuse away from being a circus act. The resulting show is filled with water stunts, jet ski work, fiery explosions, high dives, and coolest of all, a plane getting launched over the wall of the atoll with no lines or harnesses. It's a kinda non-stop 20 minutes of wild live action that takes the most memorable ideas from the film and distills them down into a super concise version that wastes no time or focus. Clearly, the show was a big hit for the Hollywood park because in the years since, the Waterworld stunt show has been replicated in Japan, Singapore, and Beijing, and more than 30 years after it was made, Waterworld is still going strong at all the parks. In fact, it's become such a staple that I'm sure plenty of people have enjoyed the stunt show without even knowing that it's based on a movie. So I think that while this stunt show has easily become the biggest lasting legacy of the film, it, combined with the actual film's waning fame, and its box office disappointment being highlighted by the contrast to the ubiquity of the show, means that Waterworld equals box office bomb has become shorthand in film history. But really, no one has much time or energy to reclaim a massive studio film that most people think was okay at best. Still, there has been some reclamation, and the Ulysses cut on Blu-ray and 4K helps a lot. So, what am I trying to say here? Well, besides the fact that Waterworld isn't the financial disaster that people have made it out to be, and that after watching the Ulysses cut, I can say that I really am a fan of this movie, I think that what's most important is that whether it's a film, a historical event, or a person, infamy quickly becomes shorthand, which eventually turns into an easily regurgitated anecdote.
I can't, Chris. You know how I get when I'm on a project.
People, especially now online. And all
I
of
get
this just
sucked in.
ignores facts and accuracy.
I don't have the brain power to give it to give you any conversation.
It's gotta be true, right? Will Waterworld ever
My brain
outgrow
is
its
turned
infamy,
off.
or even the lack of interest that it's created in the 30 years since its release? Probably not. But with the right reappraisal and enough people giving it a chance, Waterworld may just be a surprise favorite for new generations looking for a little of that classic, big-budget spectacle of a time gone by. Thanks for watching today's video, and yeah, Waterworld, a Waterworld video. Okay, sure, yeah, why not? I think that my idea for making this video was finally pushed into my schedule because people kept talking about Waterworld and all the different box office bomb videos that I've done. People keep saying, Waterworld is a bigger bomb, Waterworld was terrible, why haven't you mentioned Waterworld in this video? And it's because Waterworld was not actually a bomb. It was a disappointment at first, and then it was fine. And also it's good. In research for this video, I decided to finally watch the Ulysses cut. I bought Waterworld on 4K and got that extra disc with it. And man, I was really surprised by just how great it was. Because it was really, really good. Even though it's longer than the theatrical cut, the pacing is so much better. You like the characters so much more, and it's such a much more interesting story. So I'm really glad that I was able to watch that because it cemented my positive feelings on this movie. Waterworld will always have that reputation of being a big bomb, but like I said, it's not like that actually. But its reputation and its impact did change the course of a lot of studio history, a lot of different careers, and the movies that followed. But if you're looking for a big budget spectacle and a lot of practical effects and cool stunts, then absolutely check out Waterworld. It's a lot of fun, it's kind of a mess at times, but I think it's really thoroughly enjoyable. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Waterworld, you finally telling me that you were wrong about Waterworld being a huge bomb, and other actual bombs or maybe perceived bombs that you would like for me to make a video on. As always, a huge thank you to my members and patrons for their continued support, and if you'd like to be a member or patron, it's only $2 a month for early access to every video and exclusive reviews. With April's exclusive review being me talking about the horrible, horrible film that is The Exorcist 2. So until next time, I hope that you're taking care of yourselves and giving Waterworld a chance. Seriously, watch the Ulysses cut.
Come on, you dick. No. Stop it. Just because that dog is outside barking doesn't mean you need to be outside barking. No. What, are there a bunch of Dalmatian puppies missing and you need to go out and fucking join the what is it called? The Haloo? Can't remember what that shit's called. I'm getting irritated at this piano. Orly, stop it? No. That's enough. Cut it out. Yeah, I get it. There's a dog outside, barking a lot. It's got nothing to do with you. Don't let the intrusive thoughts win, Orly. Just be a good boy, go lay down. Good boy. Good boy. Don't do it. Orly, stop. There's no need to charge up your barking function. Bruh! Go lay down! Nope. No, you're not gonna go outside to fucking join in the bark. No. That dog is... We don't know why it's barking. Probably their owner is doing something... Or has gone on a Maybe the owner was that motorcycle guy. I don't know. Orly, it's not your place to say anything. Yeah, I know. But the answer is no. Ah. Thank you. Really, no. No. Just because they put... No, there's cougars outside. No, stop it. God damn it, I swear if I fucking cut the wrong piece of thread. Oh my god, I totally fucking forgot I got dinner. I'm gonna stop doing this and go to bed. I ran the weed eater for fucking 6 hours today. I'm gonna be ready to go to fucking sleep. Good night. Oh. So, see what it looks like when it's done. Oh, this isn't done, but 3D versus 2D. Pretty excited about that one. Alright. Oh, God. I'm covered in fucking hair. I have a weird taste in my mouth. It's driving me crazy. Sing, sweet nightingale. Sing, sweet nightingale. Cold. My bangs are stuck. I think I'm gonna try and clean my house. All this fucking fiber. Okay, see you tomorrow, bright and early. Early.